He stood in front of the operations director and presented her analyst's framework as his own strategic initiative. Word for word. The methodology, the structure, the cost indexing. All of it. And he'd been doing it for over a year. By the time this story ends, a Band 6 manager with 11 years at the company will be gone. Not fired in a blaze of confrontation. Not caught in some dramatic meeting room showdown. Just quietly removed, after a 20-minute conversation that he wasn't in the room for. The analyst he'd been erasing for 14 months had been building something the entire time. Patient, methodical, invisible. Exactly the kind of work he'd been stealing. Hartwell Freight is a mid-sized logistics company operating out of a regional hub in the west of England. It handles third-party freight coordination for distribution networks across the Midlands and the South, the kind of company that doesn't make headlines but keeps supply chains moving. Our subject, we'll call her Nadia, had been working there for 4 years as a senior process analyst. The title sounds more significant than the day-to-day. She found inefficiencies in freight routing systems and wrote detailed reports recommending fixes. Unglamorous, precise, consequential work. Nadia was good at it. Her manager was a man we'll call Marcus Renfield. 11 years at the company. The right kind of confident. The kind of person who could discuss almost any topic fluently for about 4 minutes before the surface gave way. Nadia didn't dislike him initially. He seemed competent. A little political, maybe, but that's not unusual at his level. Above Marcus sat the operations director, we'll call her Diana Chen, a senior figure Nadia had little direct contact with in those early years. That distance, it turned out, was something Marcus had been carefully maintaining between Nadia and everyone who mattered. The first incident was March 2021. Nadia had spent 6 weeks on a restructuring proposal for a regional depot network. She was quietly proud of it. The hub sequencing analysis alone had taken 3 weeks of modeling. Her estimates showed annual savings of between £180,000 and £240,000 in fuel costs and driver overtime. She submitted it to Marcus on a Friday afternoon. The following Tuesday, she was CC'd on an email in which Marcus presented the proposal to Diana Chen as something the team had been workshopping. No mention of Nadia's name. Not once. She told herself it was how management worked. Teams get credit. That's the deal at her level. Then July came. A supplier audit framework Nadia had built from scratch, 43 pages, 6 months of collected data, appeared in a board presentation attributed to Marcus's strategic review initiative. She found out because a colleague forwarded her the slide deck by accident, assuming she'd been included in the meeting. She hadn't been. Her name wasn't anywhere in the document. Then October. A staff retention analysis, requested specifically from Nadia by the HR function, was walked into a senior leadership session by Marcus. Someone who was in the room told her afterward that he'd described it as something he'd been developing over the past quarter. 3 separate pieces of work. 14 months of effort between them. Nadia understood the pattern clearly by that point. What she didn't have was proof in any form that would hold up. She went to HR in November 2021. She spoke with the employer relations advisor for her division, we'll call her Rena Marsh, and laid out the situation as plainly as she could. She had some email chains, but nothing that showed Marcus explicitly claiming ownership. Just the consistent, deliberate absence of her name. Rena listened with the particular kind of attentiveness that HR professionals are trained to deploy. Then she told Nadia that attribution in collaborative environments can be genuinely ambiguous, and that she'd have a quiet word with Marcus about ensuring contributions were properly recognized going forward. Marcus was a Band 6 manager with a strong relationship with the department head. Nadia was a Band 4 analyst. The conversation ended. nothing changed. There's a specific type of theft that leaves no visible wound. No broken lock. No missing object. Just your work, your thinking, your months of careful effort, appearing in a room you weren't invited into, attached to someone else's name. It doesn't announce itself. It accumulates. And the people it happens to are often the ones least likely to make noise about it, because making noise, without evidence, just makes you look like the problem. Nadia changed her approach in January 2022. Not out of anger, or at least, not only out of anger. Out of clarity about what the situation actually required. She began documenting everything in a way that was deliberate and architecturally sound. Every piece of work she produced, she emailed to a personal account before submitting it to Marcus. Not just the finished documents. The drafts. The data files. The methodology notes. Version histories, time-stamped as they were created. She was building a chain of custody for her own intellectual output. She also introduced a quiet layer of verification into 2 reports, a specific invented figure, noted privately, corrected in the final submitted version. If anyone ever quoted the original number back to her, she'd know exactly which draft they'd been reading. And she would know they hadn't arrived at that number themselves. Alongside this, she began making herself visible in a way she hadn't before. She attended company events. She introduced herself to Diana Chen and other senior figures, not aggressively, not with any obvious agenda. Just as a person with a name and a face, rather than a signature buried in an email chain. She understood that Marcus's ability to erase her depended partly on her remaining abstract to the people above him. She stopped being abstract. The trap, such as it was, took 3 months to set. She didn't know exactly when it would close. She just kept working, kept documenting, and kept showing up. The break came in April 2022. Marcus presented what he called a new analytical framework for third-party logistics benchmarking at the company's quarterly operations review. He walked Diana Chen and the assembled leadership team through the methodology, the cost indexing structure, the comparative benchmarking model. Nadia had written that framework in a document dated 14th of September 2021. She had 12 saved versions of it, with timestamps. The earliest version predated any meeting she and Marcus had ever had on that topic by 11 weeks. He had reproduced it almost verbatim. During the presentation, Diana asked Marcus how the cost indexing methodology had been developed. He gave an answer that was vague and slightly technically incorrect. Nadia wasn't in the room for this. She found out 2 weeks later, when Diana came to her directly with questions about figures in a separate piece of work. In the course of that conversation, Diana mentioned the benchmarking framework presentation and said Marcus's explanation of the methodology had not quite added up. Nadia paused for a moment. Then she said she could help clarify. She opened her files. She walked Diana through the version history, 12 drafts, timestamped across 4 months, the full development arc of a framework that had appeared in a board presentation with someone else's name on it. She did not accuse Marcus of anything. She presented no theory. She simply showed what existed, and when it had been created, and she let a smart, senior woman draw her own conclusions. The conversation took approximately 20 minutes. The following week, Nadia was asked to attend a second HR meeting. This time Diana was present. The tone was different, precise, formal, with the specific quality of a meeting where decisions have already been made and what remains is documentation. They asked if there were other examples. Nadia produced a folder she had already organized, 7 pieces of work, 14 months, each with its full version history, each with a clear paper trail establishing origin. She didn't perform outrage. She handed over the folder and answered questions clearly. That was all it required. Marcus Renfield was placed on administrative suspension in June 2022. The internal process ran its course through July and August. Nadia was not party to those meetings, and she didn't seek to be. In August, Marcus left the company. His professional profile now lists him as a freelance operations consultant, which is the phrase people use when they are between things and uncertain when that will change. In September 2022, Nadia was promoted to lead analyst. Her salary moved from £42,500 to £51,000. During the conversation in which Diana Chen delivered the news, she noted that Nadia's work had clearly been under-recognized for some time. Nadia thanked her and said she was glad it had been sorted out. She did not say anything else. There was nothing else that needed saying. The work had existed, dated and versioned and quietly preserved, for the 14 months it had taken for the right person to look at it. It had been patient in a way that its author had trained herself to be. It had simply waited to be seen. Nadia didn't win because she got angry. She didn't win because she made noise or found an ally or got lucky with timing. She won because she understood something that Marcus, for all his 11 years and his confident handshakes, never did. That evidence is just a record of what actually happened. And if you keep that record carefully enough, for long enough, reality tends to reassert itself. The people who believe they can rewrite history often forget that someone else was there when it was made. Some debts don't disappear. They just wait for the right audit.